We first met Craig at the Nationals last year, and he put on such a tremendous show that we're planning to go up to Michigan to the Nationals again this year. It was a great time, and so I present Craig Smith, who's come down from Philadelphia to give our presentation. Yeah, thank you, Craig.
And let me just kind of outline for you what we're in for today. The whole premise of Crew U and why we came up to it is there just isn't an open door for people who want to get involved in sailing. How do you get involved in sailing? How do you get involved in being a crew on someone's boat if you've never been sailing before? And it's one of these things where you have this perpetual crew, and there's no way to really get new people who haven't had a lot of sailing experience into it. And the Thistle, unfortunately, because of the size of the sail and the weight and the like, almost always needs to have a third person, and you can usually arm twist a wife or a kid to come and do it with you, but it seems that third person is always a real challenge. So that's the reason why we came up with this program. We've been doing it at our lake at Lake Nockamixon in Pennsylvania for I guess this will be our 4th year, and it is transformed our club into our fleet into something that's really something to get excited about. What it's designed for is it's not going to teach you how to sail the Thistle. That's not the intent. What it's designed for is to take you, whether or not you have any previous sailing experience, to be able to put you in a Thistle. We're going to do it here on land. So we can go through some of the maneuvers. We're going to go through tacks. We're going to go through jibes. We're going to show you what strings to pull, where to put your weight, how to do a roll tack, all the things that are important to learn once you get on the water. The intent, once we're finished with about an hour and a half worth of the session, is to actually be able to give you enough skills, if you had no previous experience, to be able to jump in a boat in a Thistle and go out and race after we're finished. That's the way it's designed. So. Before we actually get into any of the boat stuff, I want to talk a little bit about how to prepare yourself for being on the water for a whole day, for sailing in a Thistle. And I want to start first by dealing with what to wear, the issues on what is important to put on your body so you're going to be comfortable. In the middle of the summer where it's 85 and the water temperature is 72, you don't have to necessarily deal with these issues. Right now the water temperature is probably in the 60s at best, and if you're sailing a Thistle in an area like this, you're going to end up with getting wet and getting very cold. So I'm going to just briefly go over the layering procedure that you should at all times be wearing when the water temperature is fairly cold, even if the air temperature is nice like it is today. First thing that you need to have against your skin is a wicking layer, some type of a high-tech material that's going to suck the sweat away from your body, to actually take it away from your body so you don't get that clammy feeling that you sometimes will get. The absolute worst thing that you can wear against your body is about what we're all wearing against our skin right now, and that's cotton. That's the worst material to actually put against your skin. There are a variety of different wicking materials. This is Under Armour. This is polypropylene long underwear that I got at Kmart for like $9. There's some high-tech materials that you can get or use. This is a intended special high-tech wicking layer, again for $10 at EMS, and we've seen these, the surfer shirts. Those young fit guys wear these when they go surfing in the water. But they're all good wicking materials. They're gonna keep moisture away from your body. And that's the absolute key first layer that you want to have right against your skin. The second layer you're going to want is an insulation layer. And there are two materials that work fantastic as an insulation layer. One is wool. Now you might think, gee, what the heck are we talking about wool for a summer sport, which this is most of the time. I wear wool socks through the summer, and the reason why I wear wool socks is because it's the one material where you end up where it actually maintains its insulating properties even when it gets wet. So make sure you have a wool sweater, even in the summer, thrown in your bag someplace. you're going to end up getting wet when you sail a Thistle and it's blowing above 15. You're going to get wet. So if you have this on, you can always take it off, but once it's there and once it's wet, you're still going to stay fairly warm. Fleece is the other thing. Fleece doesn't necessarily absorb much in the way of water. Again, it also maintains its insulating properties too. So these are middle layers. This is what you're going to put right above your wicking layer. Use 1, 2, or 3 layers of this. And my advice is always to wear one more insulation layer than you think you're going to need. Once you get out on the water, you can always take it off if you have too many insulation layers. But once you're out on the water and you're cold, you're toast. Your mind shuts off, your enthusiasm's down, you're probably never going to Thistle. So that's not the intent. Okay, that's the middle layer, or the base layer, the middle layer, and then the outer layer is something that's water repellent, or this is a piece of foul weather gear. You can buy rain gear, you can buy a variety of things. The key is to keep the water off of you if at all you can. And that's the basic layering system. You use the system for hiking, you use the system for kayaking, you use the system for virtually any type of outdoor activity, and it's really important to know and understand. All right, what else do you need to know or do when you're racing a Thistle? Let's talk about the extremities here for a second. You have a head, and your head, a couple of key things to wear. I'm a firm believer that you got to be wearing a hat. That it's an important factor because there's a heat stroke, there's a sunburn on your head, there's a lot of things. A lot of women don't like wearing hats, but it is an important thing to get used to. Particularly the hotter it is, the more important that is. And also you have the protection of a sun, protecting your eyes from the sun, which is another thing that conceivably could happen. Speaking of your eyes, sunglasses are a key thing, particularly when you're going to be looking up at the sail and trimming the spinnakers and doing all that stuff. Wear sunglasses as you can. We've already done our suntan lotion. We pass that around. Always have one of these in your bag too. You might not have fair skin, but maybe the guy you're sailing with does. You know, always have this. I use it when I'm driving on my way to the regatta doing sailing. I'm putting it on first thing. That's a really key thing. A few of us have had spots already removed. You know, we don't. Skin cancer is a serious thing. We don't want to get in a position where we have to deal with that. Okay, that's the head. Let's talk about the hands briefly. For 15-20 bucks, you can buy a pair of these at your local marine store. You're going to be pulling a lot of lines today, even as forward crew, and it's important to protect your hands. Again, if you're hurting, you're not going to have fun. You're not going to come back. So protect yourself if you can. Footwear. What to wear? I actually these are cheap. You can buy them at even the kiddie stores in the mall nowadays. Everybody's wearing these. They have a real flat surface to be able to use the hiking strap on. We'll get into hiking in just a little bit and what that is, but it's a good flat surface. They're canvas, so they dry real well. They wear a long time. You can wear them on land. You can wear them off land. And look, they even have drain holes. So you can, and it's pretty obvious that I've worn these pretty well. I have color-coded versions of this. It's really a lot of fun. You can also buy the high-tech waterproof ones. Some are made of neoprene, some other plastic materials, but they're almost twice the price. And you know, once you get water over the top and they go in, your feet are going to get wet anyway. So isn't going to make a lot of difference. The one thing about sailing at Thistle, which is unique among most one-design boats, is you spend 4 hours of your day sitting on this 4-inch piece of wood here. There's a clinical term called rail tail, which comes after sitting on that baby for 2 or 3 or 4 hours in a given day. So we have, those of us that are addicted to this Thistle sailing thing, most of us have invested in some type of fanny protection. There's a pair of padded shorts for 50 or 60 bucks at the marine store. You can get several different manufacturers now have come out with it. It's got a pad on the inside that you're sitting on, a closed cell foam pad that you can sit on most of the day. So it's really a thing when you're going to spend the time on the Thistle. It's important to recognize. I think I've taken care of all parts of the body now. except the inside. Let's talk about the inside of the body for a while. Again, you're going to be spending all day on the water, and hydration is an absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle for being on the water. I will literally drink 6 of these when I'm going to be out on the water for a couple hours. It really is important to make sure that you do stay hydrated. Some things that you're going to see with dehydration, or you're going to start getting headaches. You're going to feel lethargic. I can tell when my crew is dehydrated because they stop reading the compass, and then the brain turns off. Yeah, and those are some of the things. So I got to go, put some water in you. Get some water happening. So it's really an important thing to stay hydrated. Factors. Now what we're going to actually do is we're going to be getting in the boat and going through some of the tacking and jibing maneuvers with the sails up, so we can show you where to put your weight, how to cross the boat, some of the things that you need to do to actually go sailing. But the first thing that I want to talk about is hiking. Explain what that is, how that works, and what the proper technique is for that. And could I get you to go to the other side of the Thistle and actually climb on a bee, and feel free to move and whatever. Go ahead and have a seat there. All right, what we're going to do here is I'm going to demonstrate the hiking technique for you. Hiking basically, because this is a centerboard boat, not a keel boat. We are the ballast. That's the reason why when you sail a Thistle, you need 3 people on the boat. So we are the ballast, and there's a technique called hiking, which is what we do to be our ballast. And what you do is you're using this strap that goes all the way across the boat to keep you in the boat, to keep you from falling out of the boat. And if you could just sit on the rail there for a second to counteract what I'm going to do here. Basically what you want to do is you want to get your weight as far outboard as possible. And you see I'm being held in exclusively with this tiny little strap. It's a unique experience, if you've never done it before, to be hanging yourself over the water with this. Get used to the experience, because it's something that your skipper is going to be very happy if you get out here and stay out here for the entire time. Now you'll find that after you do this for 14 seconds, 16 seconds, it starts to hurt. So it's a matter of building up these muscles. In your gym, you have something called a Roman chair that is used. Those beefcake guys with big muscles here and all over the place, they use it to lean forward, and they usually put a 25-pound weight on the back of their head, and then they do this thing on it. They go, you've seen that. That's the Roman chair, and you can just sit on it. It's actually padded, so you don't have to do this. And I've found that the best way to train yourself to hiking, find one of those Roman chairs and actually do this, and then just sit and see how long you can make this last. Okay. We're actually going to jump in the boat, and I'm going to have our 2 most experienced people here are probably the 2 of you. Is that right? Mm-hmm. In the boat. So why don't we have the 2 of you jump in the boat? You can excuse yourself. Okay. And we're going to mimic some of the techniques that we're going to use when we're on the water. Now, because we're a sailboat, we can't sail directly into the wind. And when we go through a race, we basically have 2 ways that that we sail. You sail into the wind, and you sail away from the wind. Those are the 2 directions we go when we do sailboat racing. So when you're sailing into the wind, you can't sail directly into the wind. You have to sail at about a 45-degree angle to the wind. And when you go from one 45-degree angle to the other 45-degree angle, that's some procedure called tacking. We're going to go mimic through that and walk you through how to go across the boat as we go through a tacking situation. All right. All right. Now, the first thing that we're going to do on each boat, you have to put the jib up. The jib is the sail in the front of the boat. The other sail that we're going to be using today is the spinnaker, and the spinnaker is the colorful sail that's right now stowed right here. All right. Now, what we're going to talk about here briefly is the trim of the jib. Now, on a regular basis, your skipper is going to give you an idea on where they want the trim to be. But I'm going to give you some basic tips and tools as we're sailing upwind, which of course is that 45-degree angle off the wind. Okay, this is the middle crew is the one that's going to be trimming the jib. And in this setup here, it's basically you pull the line, it automatically cleats itself. Okay, and it should be trimmed to be a couple of inches off the middle spreader. Now, when we talk about spreaders, they're the things sticking out the side of the mast. There are 3 in a Thistle, and the middle one is the one that's going to come closest to the jib up there. And you know, go ahead and pull it all the way in so we see what it looks like there. That's wrong. That's bad. You don't want that. Let it out too far, and we'll show them that. That's also bad. That's too far out. You want it someplace in between the two of those, usually 2 to 3 inches off that middle spreader is what you're looking at. It's going to vary a little bit based on wind conditions, how many waves there are on the water at the time. There's a variety of factors that are going to come into play when you talk about that. You see what Steve has here is he has a tape mark on here. That's so he can quickly get a visual as to where this should be on a regular basis. Certain wind conditions, you know, it should maybe be there, which is what, 6 inches away from the block. Certain wind conditions, it might need to be there, which is 2 inches outside the block. So that's a nice thing to be able to see as a rough tuning guide. Once you know where this is, then trim it in and get it to that position. Now we're going to concentrate on middle crew first, and what their responsibilities are in going across the boat. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk is we're going to give you a little bit of a trick on how to get across the boat. Look at all this stuff that Steve has here. There's some hazards there for your shins and your calves and your thighs and your knees. So there's a particular trick to getting across the boat, which I found to be very, very helpful. And that is to place your back foot on top of here. Go ahead and do that, Steve. And then when you're crossing the boat, it's just a matter of moving the foot from here to here and on the floor, and then shifting your weight. It's an easy way to actually get across the boat rather than having to jump across all that hardware and bang the fronts of your shins and all that stuff. You'll find that it's a nice, easy way to get across. Forward crew, you can do that as well, using your aft foot. Some crews, because of the bang as you see there, it getting in her way as she crosses, sometimes the bang will force the crew to do something a little bit different. But we're going to go ahead and mimic a couple of tacks here. That's how to go across the boat, and that's the big start with that. The other thing that's important to recognize is that the middle crew is the one that's actually going to trim the sail from one side to the other side. So what I recommend is that there's a key position when you go through the tack, and that is when the boat is headed directly into the wind. That's called it head to wind. When the boat is directly into the wind, that's when everything happens. That's when the crew starts to cross the boat. That's when the middle crew will uncleat this, and that's when the middle crew starts to trim in the sail on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The other thing that you're going to naturally decide is which of the two of you is going to go through first. Those that have the greatest survivor skills is usually the one that ends up going through first. Because remember, as we're going across the boat here, it's heeling. And with a lot of weight on one side, you're closer to the water. And that's where the survival skills come into play. I personally prefer if the middle crew comes up first, and then the forward crew comes up first, and the middle crew wait and trim conceivably before you actually cross. Start trimming on the other side after the tack before you come across. All right, enough talking. We're going to actually do some of this. All right, ready about. And that's just before the tack, and then hard to lead. The boat starts to turn. 3, 2, 1, 0. Forward crew has one job as they go through this, and that's to make sure, well, they have to change to get to the other, go across the boat, of course. But the other thing they have to make sure this is behind their knees, behind their back, behind something. It can't be in front of them. If it's in front of them, they're going to get trapped on the wrong side of the boat, and they'll end up having a problem. Okay, so this is a key thing as the forward crew crosses the boat. They need to concentrate on one thing, and that's where that line is coming out of the block. It'll be uncleated. Forward crew actually needs to pull that out as far as possible and then put it behind her back as she crosses the boat. Okay, now we're going to do that again. Middle crew, again, you're going to do exactly the same thing. See how Steve has already put that back foot on top of the centerboard cap, which is, I think, a key thing there that he'll... Survival skills, yes, he likes that a lot already. Okay, so ready, about. 1-0. Drop it, trim it on the other side. And Steve trimmed a little bit slow. When you get to 0, you actually have to start be pulling in on the other side. That's an important thing to do. And middle crew at this point has a lot more to do than forward crew does. So when you get to 0, just be aware you have to uncleat, you have to trim, you have to cross the boat all at one time. So be aware of that. Okay, we're going to do it again. Ready, about. Lean in. 2, 1. And Lindsay, right? Lindsay can actually pull this line further out just to make sure it's slack. If you only pull it part way, there might be a little bit of load on the sail and affecting the shape of the jib. So if you pull it all the way out, you'll know that it is all the way out. Okay, we're going to do this one more time, and then I'm going to throw another clinker in here for you. All right, ready, about? 1, 0. Uncleat, trim it on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to throw in something called the roll tack. The roll tack is basically a procedure, just as it sounds. It's a procedure where we're actually forcefully rolling the boat from one side to the other. The reason why we do that, well, it's fast is the reason you do that. You're actually going to roll the boat to take advantage of kinetics, of the physical forces on both the sail and the centerboard and the rudder, which can increase your speed if you do it actually the right way. It can make you go faster than if you were roll tacking. So this is why we're going to talk about roll tacking. Thank you. That's a great transition. I have something that I call lighter later. Okay, what that means is the lighter the wind, the later you cross the boat, which means that if the wind is really heavy, you don't wait at all. You go as fast as you can before you have the ability to roll tack. So light to medium air, particularly the lighter it is, the more aggressively you need to roll tack, because you don't have the wind assisting the boat to roll. So that's really the key thing. So if it's really light, you go so late that you're trimming and you're staying probably on the low side in really light conditions as the middle crew. Sometimes forward crew, you might not go all the way either. So the lighter the later is just something that you can use and think through your head when you think about, gee, when should I cross the boat? Is the wind light? Is the wind heavy? If the wind's heavy, I've got to move faster than if the wind is light. Okay. All right. Now the two things we're going to add to this is when the skipper says ready, about, what I want you to do is I want you to actually lean forward. What that does is it induces a little bit of heel, which helps the boat actually turn. So when you lean forward, that's going to force the boat to roll a little bit like this, and that helps the skipper turn the boat. And so skipper says ready, about, lean in. I'm going to do the same countdown down to 0. When I get to 0, I want you actually to throw as much weight as possible outboard. That means get your rear end sitting on the rail here when we get to 0. Okay? Got that? Okay. Ready, about, lean in. All out one time. And this is where, when the middle crew, when you get to zero, you have all this stuff to do. You got to sit out. You got to uncleat. You got to start trimming the other side. There's an awful lot of things for you to do. The more you do it, the more natural it will become. All right, we're going to do it again. Ready, bow, lean in. Hard to lead. Great. This is where the lighter later is important. Middle crew in light air, you're actually going to stay out as long as possible. Your objective is actually get a little bit of a lip of water coming in over the boat. So the lighter it is, the longer you have to stay there to get that water close to coming in the side of the boat. Okay, so we're going to do one more time.
That's right, it had the wind that you're out.
Exactly. And this time, let's pretend it's a little bit lighter, so particularly middle crew, stay a little bit longer and start trimming the sail on the before you cross the boat. Okay, ready about? Lean in. And forward crew, good, good. Forward crew, make sure you pull that line out. Yep, good. Make sure that slack is completely gone. And again, forward crew, the one thing she needs to think about is right there, the line coming out of that block. That's where she grabs it. If she grabs it and sees that it's cleated, maybe the forward crew or the middle crew forgot to cleat it. It's important to make sure that's uncleated. If it's cleated, you could conceivably go over because it's cleated. So it's just a double check also to make sure that the middle crew uncleated when they did.
Now, is the middle typically going to be straddling the forward? Or do you have it behind them?
I almost always
try to sit tight.
I almost always have them back. Sometimes I'll have the forward crew straddling, and when I'll have the forward crew straddling will be in heavy air when I have the chop. Then I actually have everybody back quite a ways. In very light breeze, when there's no waves, yeah, everybody could be as far forward as possible, get the stern out of the water, decrease your water line, the amount of hull inside the water. But as the wind picks up, the more chop there is, the further back you need to be. Medium chop, they say you want about 1 butt length between the shroud and the forward crew. I'm sorry, 1 butt length.
Thank you. I was going to say,
between the bow and the forward crew. So your right cheek ought to be right about there. Yeah, so as you can see, here's the thwart right there. At some point, you're going to be so far back when there's a lot of chop that forward crew has to actually straddle. What that does is, and we've all done it in the boat. You feel that wave, and it goes pump right into the bow, and the boat goes. And if you've shifted back, that bow is going to be a little bit on top of the wave, and it's going to be skimming the top rather than going, which is fairly slow. All right, we're going to do a couple more of these tacks, and then I'm going to get some other pairs to jump in and do some of this. Okay, now I'm going to talk through the middle crew position, and again what we have here, and I'm going to make you jump right into the roll tack stuff. Okay, so hopefully you've been paying attention. And the key is when you get to zero, uncleat this and trim this in on the other side. Now you're a little bit over trimmed, and when I as skipper talk to my new middle crew, I actually will say, why don't you trim the jib out 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch just to see what difference it makes. So why don't you trim the jib out about 1 inch? Okay, good. That's a little bit too big of an inch. That's good right there. And what you see is as you let it out, you don't have to grab it here. You can grab it way back there and go ahead and uncleat it and just let it out a little bit. And then as you pull it in, it automatically cleats like that. Good. All right, we're going to go through a tack. Ready about? Lean in. Very nice job. Go across the boat. Let's do it again. Ready, about, lean in. Mark it in. 3, 2, 1, 0. Sit out, complete, trim, and cross the boat. All right, ready, about, lean in. Hard to leave. 3, 2, 1, 0. Trim and cross. And that was a light air tack, right? Because you stayed and trimmed all the time on that side. Let's do a heavy air for you. So you're going to trim. You're going to go across and bring the line with you as you get. So when you get to 0, it's just a matter of a second. You're going to sit here and then quickly get across to the other side. Get the wind to be cooperative here, and all right, there we go. Now we're gonna, and that's a good trimming thing. And again, middle crew, we've done that. Forward crew, your one goal once you get across the boat is to make sure this is all the way out. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's go ahead and complete this. Looks like might be hitting the middle of the day doldrums. Okay, ready, about, lean in. Hard and this is where you grab and pull that. See, it recleated because somebody stepped on this line on the other side. Another thing, what does forward crew do with, middle crew do with the jib sheet? What I recommend they do when, in this case we have the port side jib sheet. Okay, can everybody see me here? He's got all this line here. When he uncleats at head to wind, my recommendation is to take the line, uncleat it, and throw it on the floor over there. And then what's going to happen is you're not going to be stuck getting hung up on all this hardware here. It's going to be free flowing, and then forward crew at that point can pull it through and get it all loose, completely loose on the other side. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put up the spinnaker pole. What we have here is right about where the motorcycle is. A little bit beyond the motorcycle is our windward mark. We're going to go round it, we're going to pass it to our port side. So we're going to go around it like this. As soon as we go around it, we're going to want to start putting up the spinnaker. Okay. If you want to come and take a look over here, we have the spinnaker pole, and we're going to set the spinnaker pole up and get it ready to fly. So Lindsay, you can go ahead and grab that. Now, there are 3 parts of the spinnaker pole. Who could tell me what they are?
Right, left, and middle.
Right, left, and middle. There you go. Those are the three parts of it that we're going to have to deal with. Okay, and it's going to be the forward cruise position to set up the spinnaker pole so it's ready to go. Okay, Lindsay, go ahead and set it up for us. The first thing that she's going to do is she's going to take an end of the pole and hook it right to the line. Okay, that's the first step. Second step is she's going to hook the middle of the pole to this hook that we have hanging from the mast. It's called the topping lift. And there's one third position that goes to the mast. You've got to pull the trip line to get it on.
Okay, where'd you go?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Those are the 3 points. The spinnaker pole is now up and ready to go. We're ready to fly the spinnaker. Now, one extra thing that, two extra things that we want forward crew to do at this point. The first one is to put this line in this hook right here. Go ahead and do that. It goes in the pole all the way forward. And then that's the second thing. Push the pole as far forward as you can. It actually should be sitting right there on the forestay. We need space for Okay, now the sail is up, or the spinnaker pole is up, and we're ready to go. Now, Lindsay, I want you to take that down off all the way, and then I want you to repeat it again for us. We're not going to get everyone's not going to have the opportunity to do what we just did. So pay particular attention to what she does here. Now, one of the things that I recommend that you do is you can save yourself one step by actually having this sheet on the end.
Take your time, I don't want to rush it.
Having this sheet on the end of the pole like that. So if it is set up and ready to go, it'll save you one step as the skipper is yelling at you. You better do that fast because the mark's coming up right there. Okay. All right, so you have one step taken care of. Go ahead, Lindsay, go ahead and set it up all the way. Okay, she's taking it out. She's got the middle, puts it on the hook, and then pushes the pole out and forward at the same time. Again, save yourself some steps, and then the hook the guy goes in the guy hook right here. Okay, good. All right. When it, now the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to round that mark. Let's go ahead and turn this boat around, and we're going to put up the spinnaker. Okay, and the spinnaker halyard is usually pulled by the skipper. I'm not sure how you do it in your boat, Steve, but one other thing we need to do is the halyard will be fixed someplace. In this case, Lindsay is on the left-hand side on the hook. Okay, good. Now the halyard's free. We're going to say the skipper is going to hoist it here for us. And there we go. Once it's up, what has to happen is the edge of the spinnaker has to come in contact with the pole. And when that happens, then the forward crew now is finished with their responsibility up here, and then they can take down the jib, which is the next thing that has to happen. So go ahead and do that, Lindsay. And then we're going to talk briefly a little. Yeah. And then we're going to talk briefly a little bit about spinnaker trim. Okay. This one it was the middle crew's responsibility to trim the jib. It's their responsibility to trim the spinnaker as well. Okay. And so the first thing that we have to recognize, go ahead and let that go. Is that our middle crew take control of the spinnaker. And what their job is, you know how the jib had two parts to it? It had a fixed side, it had a floating side or a variable side. The spinnaker has the same thing. It has a fixed side and a floating side. On the jib, as you see, this was the fixed part, and the floating part was this side. Which of the two did you trim? You trimmed the floating side. Same thing here on the spinnaker. You have a fixed side, which is the fixed side is always the one that comes directly down from the spinnaker pole, and you see it comes directly to your cleat here. It is fixed. That makes it our fixed side. The non-fixed side, or the floating side, is the other one in this case. So go ahead and let me fix this just a second. Probably have. All right, now the objective of trimming the spinnaker is that you always want to see curl coming directly up from the edge of the spinnaker pole. So let that floating edge go until you see that. There it is, perfect curl right there. The objective is to keep letting that left side of this face out until you get that little bit of a curl in the sail, be able to maintain that curl. That's the key in sailing the spinnaker fast. So as you see, as you let it out, it starts to curl, and if it gets too big, it'll collapse all the way. You don't want that. You just want to be able to, that little bit of a flap. My intent is usually to keep easing by a few inches at a time, and then when it starts to collapse, pull it back out again. And then keep easing, let that sail out so you get a little bit of a flap. And if you can maintain that curl at all times, boy, is your skipper going to be happy. So that's really an important factor.
Curl and where do you break? Where does it start to break before you?
It's going to break depending on where your spinnaker pole is. but and the cut of your sail, but about a little bit above halfway is usually where you see it starting to break. If your pole is a little bit lower, almost the entire side is going to start flapping in at the same time. So, and I don't see curl. Show me curl. There you go. That's the kind of curl that we want to see. All right, now that is the variable side. Now, because this is a spinnaker, you're going to have the variable side sometimes on the left part of the boat and sometimes on the right part of the boat. So don't get too used to this setup right here because you're going to be flipping your sides around. Okay, the other part is the fixed part, and unlike the jib, you do have an adjustment on the fixed part of the spinnaker. The main objective here is to make sure that the pole is approximately perpendicular to the wind. So that's where you make this adjustment. Sometimes it's going to be here. And in this case, because of where the wind is, it's going to be back about there. That's your main adjustment. And then once you get the spinnaker pole in the right place, at that point, then you doing there trying to maintain that little bit of a curl. You'll find it's hard to get that curl if your spinnaker pole's not set correctly. Your skipper might also be playing the spinnaker pole for you, but you should be willing and able to do that as well. And I usually recommend you tie some type of a wind telltale right here, so you can see at all times where that wind is coming from. And if it's coming from here, then guess what you got to do? You got to do that. And the faster you react, the faster you'll go. That's a key part of trimming the spinnaker like that. So show me that curl. Let's keep that curl going, and we'll talk about the next thing. Okay, the next thing that's actually going to happen is we're going to take this setup as it is on this side and flip it all around to the other side. That's called a jibe. Yes?
What about the height of the pole?
Height of the pole, I don't mess with that too much at this level of crew training, but in theory, you want the pole height to be set so the two corners of the sail are in approximately the same place. So there is an adjustment for that. As you see, it's here. You can raise it, you can lower it, depending on how much wind there is. The less wind there is, the lower you need the pole. Less, lower. Less, lower. All those L's keep coming into play. But the less wind you have, the lower the pole you'll need to have. Some boats actually have a second ring down here. I don't talk about it a lot right here because it's more important sometimes to have it as far away from the mast as possible. So if you recognize your geometry, if it's straight, parallel to the water, it's as far out from the mast as it can be. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. All right, now we're going to do our jibe, and the jibe is basically taking this setup here and moving it over to the other side. So it means that we're going to be turning the boat from pointing this direction to pointing this direction. Right now the wind is kind of coming from this side, and then we want the wind to be coming from the other side. Okay, the procedure, and I'm going to only teach one way to jibe here in this class. There are a variety of different ways as far as who moves their body when and what they do. I'm only going to teach one here. When you set up this class for your own fleet, you may teach something other than what I'm going to teach here. One thing that we didn't really talk about is right now the mainsail is pushed all the way out, and the forward crew is going to be sitting right here. Okay, so go ahead and come on over here and sit where we are. This is what's happening again because the wind is coming basically from behind the boat. Okay, so this is where everybody's set at this point in the race. Now what we want to do is we're going to turn the boat, we're going to take this setup right here, we're going to jibe, everything's going to switch over to the other side. Okay. And let's talk about the responsibility of middle crew first. Okay, in this case, this boat is set up to have continuous spinnaker shafts. So he can grab this line from his left hand, trace this line, and take all the slack out and put the other slack in his right hand. Now he has the entire sail controlled with either his right or his left hand. That's a key thing to do because pretty soon we're going to deal with all these cleats here, and then it's going to be solely on him to keep the wind in the sail. So that's the important thing. And then he has one more job, and that's keep the wind in the sail as we turn the boat around underneath him. Okay? All right, the next thing that happens is forward crew has a responsibility, and that's to unhook this hook from the guy hook. So she'll just have to lean over, try to keep her weight where it is, but just with her long arms, come out and take this out of this hook right here. And now, look what happens to the middle crew. He's got complete control over both sides, one with his right and one with his left hand. So he can adjust his sail accordingly. Okay, now what I recommend that the forward crew do, and this is what we're teaching here, grab the bang, swing the boom across. Okay, that way you can control when and where it's going. All right, now she's in the right place. She has one thing that she has to do. She takes the pole that's right here, puts this pole, that end on this line, takes what used to be on the other line, and hooks it here to the ring on the front of the mast. Let's go ahead and do that, Lindsay. Yeah, just pull that ring out there. All right, see she's unhooked it from that line.
You have to hold it.
She's unhooked it from both ends by pulling this line in the middle.
As long as the wind is over here, it'll keep going.
We didn't turn the boat too well for them. Sorry about that. Okay, so Lindsay, the first thing she did was the hook on the other side. The last thing she does on this side is the hook on this side. Okay.
Which one do you do first?
Before the jibe, the first thing you do is the hook. At the very end of the jibe.
Does it matter which of these you do?
Oh, well, the only one you can reach. The only one you can reach is the one on the mast. The other one you can't reach. And if you're good crew like Lindsay is, she'll grab this line and twist this line and open both jaws at the same time. So both jaws are open, then she just kind of does this. Look at that. See how that works? Isn't that cool? And different poles have different ends. Some are easier to do that with than others. But what she has here is some very good technique. Okay.
You typically do go ahead and wait until the main is over before making it.
The reason why I do that is I have forward crew grab this and swing it across for two reasons. One, she knows where it is now because it's in her hand. Two, this technique of jibing the main first and then setting everything from the other side can be used regardless of how big your crew is. You can do this with a real big guy on forward, which if you're two-manning it or if you are, sailing with a guy of his size in the forward, he's not going to be able to duck under that little slot and try to do it all from the other side, from the wrong side. So this is why I teach this. Anybody, any size can do your jibe this way. All right, we're going to do another one, another two, and then we're going to get the other teams involved to do this. Is this helpful? Is this good? Okay, Steve's doing a great job of trying to, at all times, maintain that. Oh, I'm sorry. One final thing. Lindsay put the thing in the hook. Now you guys have to switch sides again. So Steve then can see the sail the way he needs to be seeing it. And now you see he's set up on completely the other side. So is Lindsay. Yeah, Lindsay, could you just do that sheet for him? What I did over here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And Steve, show me curl. Show me curl. Good. He's doing a good job. And right now, this pole is probably a little bit too far forward. Too far. Yeah, it should too far out. Should be a little bit further forward. Show me curl. Show me curl. Ah, beautiful job. There's curl. Great job. All right, now the ring is shifted a little bit from here to over here, so we need to bring the pole back a little bit. Okay. And you see that happen. Great job there. Okay, now we're going to go through another jibe, go through the same thing here. Okay, Lindsay, the first thing you're going to do is lean across and take that. What? No. First thing, Steve has to trace the lines. Oh, you grabbed the wrong spot. I suggested that you trace the line to make sure that you're on the proper side of that. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So if you trace the line, you end up doing that underneath there. Okay. Great. All right. So first thing is our middle crew has both lines in their hand. Lindsay, undo the guy hook and grab that boom and swing that boom across. Watch your head. Good. All right. Now, Lindsay, on this side of the boat, can set the spinnaker pole. She takes it off the mast, onto this green line, and off that green line and back onto the mast. And the one final step, the first and the last, is the guy hook. Exactly. The guy hook and the cleat. Okay, and then she switches sides. They both switch sides, and now Steve can do this here right here. Is this helpful? Is this good? All right, Lindsay, you ready to take your other partner here in here?
Let's go.
Come on. Thank you, Steve. Nice job. Okay, is this first time ever flying spinnaker?
Yes.
All right, good. Excellent. All right, so then basically you have one job, and that is to take this line going from the left side and keep letting it out until you see curl coming up from the spinnaker pole here. There it is, little tiny curl, and try to maintain that curl if you can. That's your job. I'm adjusting the pole here to make it perpendicular to the wind, but your job is to try and get curl directly up from the spinnaker pole. So you let it out slowly until you get curl, and then pull it back in. It's a matter of just a few inches sometimes. Sometimes it's a matter of a few feet. Perfect. There you go. That's it. Okay, great. Okay, we're going to do a jibe. You ready for a jibe? First jibe ever? First thing you do is you trace the line to get all the slack out. And if you don't trace the line, you're going to grab this on the wrong side of this line. So that's why you trace it. All right, now Lindsay's going to lean over. Your partner here is going to lean over that. Now you're in complete control with both your right and left hand. Watch your head. Over your head. Now you're in control. You have one job, and that is to keep the sail full. Okay. Good. Now Lindsay's going to go off the mast, onto the line. Go to the right side a little bit. Now you switch sides and you're only adjusting the right side, the starboard side. And at some point you have to adjust this so this is perpendicular to the wind. You have it fairly perpendicular. But then now you do the same thing on that side. Please show me curl. Get curl for me. One of the things that I think is probably the best training tool in the world to learn how to fly the spinnaker is to get somebody who has an old beat up spinnaker, go out on a windy day and tie it into a tree in your backyard and tie a line to one side or the other and then do this for a couple hours. You'll find that you'll start to read what the sail is telling you. What happens if I pull on this? What happens if I let this go and pull on this one? What happens if I pull them both together? What happens if I let them both go? You'll be able to then recognize what the spinnaker is telling you to do, which side of the sail to pull. It's a great training tool for someone new that they're just learning how to fly the spinnaker. All right, you're going to do another jibe. First thing you're going to do is trace the line. Great job. Now they're in one in the right, one in the left, one side of the sail on the right hand, one in the left hand. Guy hook first. Swing the boom. job. You have one job. Exactly. You're doing a great job. Great job of making sure that they are together. For a first time ever spinnaker trimmer, you obviously have done like kite flying or something in the past. Great job. All right, now we're going to get ready for the transition, and that's where the jib comes back up. Right now there's another mark down there that we're going to go around. So the first thing that's going to have to happen is you concentrate still on the maintaining of the sail and keeping that all happening as the forward crew puts the jib back up. Go ahead and do that now.
No, we just pull from here.
Okay, good. All right, the jib is up. Now what I'm going to ask you to do right now, Steve, pretend like you're going to enter into the jibe. You're going to trace the lines both in one hand. And let's take the pole off completely, off all sides. Now Steve, I'm going to ask you to try and maintain the sail, while she's doing all this work. Okay? And your goal is to try and maintain this as long as possible, even without a spinning score on this. And when
In the middle.
Okay, so what you want to do is try and maintain this as long as possible. And actually, what I would do is I'll actually have, like, you'll practice this, sailing like this for a while, and waiting, just so you can get some practice. Again, this is why the tree situation is such a crucial thing to do. All right, and then to do the strip, Lindsay's going to grab this line, pull the sail towards her, grab both parts of the sail, and collapse the entire bottom of the sail in her hands. So grab both bottom parts of the sail, and then, yeah, you can let that side go. And the key is to make sure the whole sail is in her hand before she takes it down. The reason for that, if you don't do that, you could lose it in the water and end up with a problem as you try to round the mark. So you see here, it's completely collapsed. And then she just pulls it straight down from the top as the skipper or whoever uncleats that halyard. You see how she kind of has it all together? You can grab it with your arms, you can grab it with your hands. It's not a big sail, so you can have it all completely collapsed. And then the final thing that she does is she stows this here, stows this hook just in the guy hook here like this. Does that make sense? Okay, what do we do? Any questions on any of this? I think you guys did a phenomenal job. And I think you've also found that it's a very easy sport to learn once you can learn it in a very laid-back environment like we had today. So, excellent job. We're done.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Craig.